What's up, everybody? It's Lexi D here, coming to y'all with another video. This one is going to be all about how friendships change once you graduate college. So if you want to know more, then keep listening and let's get started. I'll be honest, when I entered college, I didn't even think I would really make that many friends, just because right before college began, about 2 weeks before I was to move in, I got into this huge explosive argument with my now ex-best friend, and it just kind of left me in a space where I felt like if I can't even trust my own best friend who I've known for about 6-7 years, then how can I trust these strangers? However, thankfully I was able to get past that, and I was able to make a couple of really lasting friendships, and so I'm very appreciative for that. However, what I've seen is that as I have now graduated college, if you haven't heard me say it enough, it's almost been 2 years, but since graduating, I've definitely seen a change in our friendships, and it used to be kind of a struggle for me. I'm very much an extrovert, and I like to be around people, and I get energy from being around people, especially people that I love and I care for. So to go from a space where I'm in college and I'm constantly around people that I love, I was able to live on campus, and I lived in a dorm house. I want to call it a dorm house. And in that house, I made a lot of lasting friendships, and I will never forget my second year, and it was called the Rosa Parks house. It was the house that basically black students would gear towards, and we just had so much fun. So to go from that space of everyone I love being around me and having a good time to living on my own and not having anyone that I really care for around me on a daily basis, it was really tough to deal with. If you've been watching my videos, you know that I've dealt with loneliness, and I will leave a link to that video here where it explains what I went through when I was dealing with loneliness. And it was really tough for me. I also went through this period of clinging to my friendships after I graduated. I was kind of like, and I moved out on my own, I was like constantly texting my friends like, what are we doing tonight? What are we doing tonight? And I just never wanted to be by myself. And that was because I hadn't been by myself as much as I have now. So basically on a weekly basis, I'm probably alone by myself about 90% of the time, meaning that I'm not really interacting with my friends or my family on a face-to-face basis, which can be seen as normal for a lot of people. But again, going from a space where that's not normal, where you're constantly surrounded by people, to being surrounded by no one, it was just really hard for me to deal with. And so me clinging to my friends, it wasn't really healthy, and I don't know if they really picked up on it, but I was just constantly really kind of thirsty to hang out because I wanted to have that feeling back of being around people I care for. I work with predominantly men who are over the age of 50, and there's no real connection past work. I'm going to be straightforward and honest with you. I don't have any desire to go to a happy hour with people who are 50 and older, and I just haven't been. Work is where I spend obviously a majority of my time, at least 8 hours of my day, and so to be in that environment where there's no one I really connect with, again, I'm by myself. Through a period of people all around me to absolutely no one around me. And what I've had to deal with, and what you probably are or will deal with, is having to create new friendships eventually, because what you'll see with your older friends is that either they move out of state or they move into a different city that's way too far from you. Their schedules are different. They're in grad school, you may be working full time, or vice versa, and you have to now schedule in time to hang out with your friends. It's not something that, oh, I can just call you up like I did in college. Oh, it's 1 a.m. Let's go for an in-and-out run. That doesn't happen anymore. At least it hasn't happened for me. And it's very different to go from that to, hey girl, or not even calling on the phone, but texting and saying, do you have time to talk tonight? I literally have to schedule time to talk to my friends, and I have to do that sometimes a week in advance because our schedules are not the same, or because they're in different time zones. So it's a completely different way of interacting with my friends than I did in college, and I've gotten used to it now. It's just the way of life, but I think initially it was kind of a shock, and it was just kind of like, oh shit, I'm an adult now. I have to actually pencil in time to talk to my friends. This is crazy. So another topic of discussion with this is creating new friendships. And that can definitely be something that is difficult because you don't really know how much you, at least for me, I feel like I've had, when I first started creating new friendships, I felt like I had to kind of put up a front until I knew the person enough to feel like I could be 100% myself. In creating new friendships, it can be a real big challenge, and I wanted to give you all 3 tips on how to do that. The first tip would be to go into spaces that interest you. So for instance, if you are an animal lover, volunteer in an animal shelter. Chances are you may find someone who obviously is interested in animals like you, and they may have other interests that are similar to you, so you could potentially create a friendship out of that. The second tip would be to not be afraid to introduce yourself. It can be a little bit scary, but if you are in a space where you're sharing common interests with someone, chances are that you guys will be able to vibe out a little bit, and it may be a little bit easier than, say, introducing yourself to someone that you just met randomly on the street. The last tip would be to be open and be vulnerable. If you're in a space where you feel like you share common interests with someone and you've introduced yourself, make sure to give them something that they feel like they can connect with you on besides just the surface level. I'm very much about digging deeper into someone's life and trying to see what is it that they struggle with, what is it that they love to do, instead of just talking about the weather. So I would definitely advise you to be open and be vulnerable, and that way you can establish real connections with people as opposed to these phony surface level friendships. So I want to thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Also make sure to subscribe because I post new videos every single Tuesday. Make sure to leave any questions or comments below, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye!